Chapter 6. Saturday morning started off with a delivery of supplies to my friends' houses. We loaded the boxes in the back of my dad's car and carried the ingredients into each kitchen. While I was in the kitchen, I made sure they had the 2 baking pans needed for making the double batch of bars. Emma's and Max's house each had 2 of the correct size pans. Nick only had 1, so I borrowed a pan from my grandparents and delivered it with the box of supplies. Each friend had set out a mixer, a bowl, measuring cups, spoons, and aprons. Our families had talked about my business plan on winter and agreed to meet at the Old Stone Pizza House for dinner that night. That way we could use the kitchens without interruptions all day. Nick and Max started at Nick's house on their first batch of bars. Emma and I started at her house since I was already there delivering supplies. We have a set of walkie-talkies that we use when we're out riding our bikes or playing in the woods. We used them to talk back and forth as we got started. Once the first batch was cooked and out of the oven, we set the pans on the counter to cool. Emma and I headed to my house and started on batch number 2. Max called us on the walkie-talkie and told us they were at his house on their second batch as well. When batch number 2 was set out to cool, Emma and I headed back to her house. We cut both pans of bars according to my template and wrapped them in plastic. I washed the 2 pans while Emma started mixing the next set of ingredients. We put the third batch in the oven, washed the mixing bowl and measuring cups, and started on the decorations. I had made 500 round tags by paper punching light browned craft paper into circles. On each tag, my grandma and I stamped the image of a black cat arching his back while standing next to a pumpkin. I remembered my grandma had the stamp in her craft kit from a few years back. Since my name is Cat and the stamp had a picture of a Halloween cat, it seemed like the perfect way to decorate the pumpkin twinkle bars. I punched a small hole at the top of the tag and we ran a string through the tag and tied it around each bar. The tags laid flat right in the center and the string was tied off with a bow. We used the big box my dad and I had used to deliver the ingredients and lined the brownies in the box on their sides. Our first batch of 24 bars was complete. We called Nick and Max and they were almost done with packaging their first batch as well. All we had to do was keep baking, but a few problems came our way. Nick and Max put in batch number 4 and set the timer. They went outside to throw the baseball and didn't hear the timer when it beeped. The bars ended up in the oven for about 5 or 6 minutes too long. They called me on the walkie-talkie and I ran over to look at them while Emma kept our production line going. I decided the overcooked brownies were okay to keep, but the bars on the corners were a little too crispy. We put those 8 bars in a separate box to use as extras we were keeping for ourselves. Emma and I ran into trouble later in the day when she dropped a carton of eggs on the floor as she was getting them out of the refrigerator. The eggs cracked immediately as they hit the floor and made a big, sticky mess. Fortunately, there were only 4 eggs in the carton. Her mom had extra eggs in the refrigerator and she let us use them as a replacement. It was a lot of responsibility to produce and be in charge of getting 500 brownies all done in one day, but we did it. By the end of the day, we had 4 boxes of bars. The brownies were stacked in the boxes in neat rows with cardboard in between them so they wouldn't smash each other. My dad helped me pick up each large box and load it into his car. We realized it would be easiest to leave the boxes in the car overnight so they would be ready for delivery the next morning. The 4 of us were tired and hungry when we got to dinner at Old Stone. We ate pizza, played the pinball machine in the back room, and shared the extra twinkle bars with our families as a thank you for letting us use the kitchens. Max and Nick volunteered to eat the crispy ones. The next morning, my dad drove me to the Blue Moon Cafe. He pulled the car up behind the cafe where the vendors make their deliveries. My brother's friend Ryan was making a delivery of eggs from his family's farm. Mr. Adams' son was in charge of receiving deliveries. We brought in the 4 big boxes of pumpkin twinkle bars and I showed him the purchase order. He pulled out a stack of cash and counted out the balance owed me of $125. And that was it. The first order in Kat's Twinkle Bar business was delivered. I went back home and put the money in my metal box. Then I went downstairs for breakfast. I realized with all the planning and production of the dessert business, I hadn't finished putting together my Halloween costume. We always go to the Halloween Spooktacular as a family. Sometimes we dress up in costumes that match or are similar to each other. 2 years ago, we went as pirates. The year before, we went as garden gnomes. This year, my mom and dad decided to do the standard witch and wizard costumes, and my brother was going as a king with a long red cape. I was also doing my own costume. Mr. Adams had sparked an idea when he called me Miss Baker. Even though my name is Cat Casey, he called me Miss Baker because I was baking pumpkin twinkle bars. I took some thin white material and stapled it to a white headband and made it fluff up like a baker's hat. I put on a white shirt with a white apron and filled a small basket with a rolling pin, some cookie cutters, and a few measuring cups. My final touch was a piece of orange fabric I found in our sewing supplies. I cut it in a long strip and used my grandma's Halloween cat stamp to decorate the length of the fabric. The ink dried quickly and was ready by the time I tied the scarf around my neck, just like a baker.